All right, welcome back to another episode of Bear Track Outfitters podcast. It has been a while, too long. It's just I've been caught up with a bunch of other things, and we've had two busy seasons, spring and fall up at camp. This year is gonna be another one. I know a lot of people have been telling me to be more active and post more, and I'm trying. It's just this is not my strong suit. I enjoy it, but it's not my strong suit. So it's not something that's on my mind all the time. We're getting ready for another spring season here. I can't wait. This is my Christmas. This is my favorite time of year. I look forward to it. No matter how many years I do it, I look forward to it as if it's my first time. And I just, yeah, it's hard to explain to most people the feeling I get and my guides get when we head up for spring or for fall, for any season. Because there's always this anticipation, right? There's always this excitement, this not anxiety. I'm never nervous. There's always, well, what if the Bears don't show up this year, right? It's always in the back. I tend to overthink things all the time, so that's always on my mind. And my guides, those especially who've been with me for years, they kind of chuckle every time because it never happens. But we have people paying a lot of money to travel a long way to hunt with us, so I always just want to make sure everything is good to go, right? I was sitting and thinking the other day. This isn't what I'll get into the point of this podcast in a bit, but I just wanted to share a little bit here. I was thinking the other day why I look forward to this so much, and it hit me. I finally kind of pinned down what exactly about this I look forward to. I love being in the woods. That is my church. That is my sanctuary. That is my happy place. That is where I love to be. If I can share that with people, whether it's family or close friends, or even guests who eventually become friends through camp, that makes it all the better. So I love being in the woods. I love hunting. I like guiding more than I like hunting, to be honest. I love hunting, don't get me wrong, but to me, guiding, I've always loved the process. I've always loved the game of it, right? I'm kind of an analytical person, so naturally that fits me. And I love getting people there, especially their first bear. Oh, to me, there's no greater joy. And so, love being in the woods, love hunting, fishing. And that's all great. But what I realized the other day is why I look forward to this so much. And this may sound crazy to some, but it's good for my soul. And that's not supposed to be some deep philosophical, religious, anything like that. It's more, it's cleansing for me. I get to go to a place that happens to be my own place. 1.4 million acres of untouched wilderness. Untouched. When we're up at camp, we don't see anybody. Unless you're hunting with Bear Track or you're one of my employees, we don't see people. There's nobody up there. So I get to experience that unbridled, raw wilderness. I get to use that as my playground. I have no cell reception. I'm not a massive social media person to begin with, but I couldn't be on social media up there if I wanted to. I couldn't call someone if I wanted to. I couldn't text someone if I wanted to. And I would not have it any other way. I always tell people, when I'm up at camp, the world could collapse and I'd never know. As long as that area, right? But you know what I mean. Like you could be down here watching the news and World War III would kick off and I'd never know. And I mean, obviously, God forbid that happens, but it's just so remote and so pure. I'm not constantly bombarded with this negativity in the news, this this person said that and that politician did this, and it's like up there I could care less. I mean, right now I could care less for the most part, but you're disconnected from reality. And when it comes to social media, you're disconnected to what is most oftentimes a false reality. I tell people all the time, nature's brutal, but it's never personal. And for those who know me, know that I'm a very black and white person. And so when a bear kills a fawn, or a wolf kills a bear cub or a fawn, or they take down an elk, or there's nothing ever personal about it. There's no emotion attached to it. They're doing what they do because that's what they do. And to me, there's something beautiful about that. There's no BS. Right? There's no false motives. There's no underhandedness. There's none of that. It's just it's nature in its rawest form. And when I go up there, I'm setting the world aside. I'm setting the world aside and all the drama and negativity and chaos that comes with it. Now, there's obviously beautiful people and beautiful things in the world happening daily. But unfortunately, that's often not what we see. And so I get to remove myself from that and put myself into what I think the world as it should be. So, as I'm driving up to camp every either spring season or fall season, the further I get north, which is further or closer to camp, I can feel kind of this sense of calm come over me. The further I get north, the calmer and the more relaxed and the more I get. And then the opposite, when I come home, I hit the perimeter of Winnipeg and it's like, ugh. Right, back to civilization, back to reality, back to, and so, but when I'm up there, I'm around like-minded people. I get to reacquaint myself with old friends that have hunted with us for years. I get to form new relationships with people that have hunted with us for the first time. I get to bond. I get to connect with them through hunting, and I get to just be a part of nature. Not to sound, hippie-ish, but it's good for the soul, and I think everyone should experience that at least once in their life. The effect nature can have on your sanity, on your mind, on your soul. There's a quote that I read a while back. I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but it's something along the lines of, "Into the woods I go, to lose my mind but find my soul." And that's exactly how I feel. It's invigorating. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, and because I feel there's others out there that can relate to it. So if you can, let me know. I'd be interested to see how many people feel that way. And it reminds me of a moment I had in a tree stand years ago. I was sitting with a guy. We were bear hunting. He wanted me to sit with him. It was his first time. He didn't know how to judge a bear. He didn't know this and that. He's kind of nervous. That's fine. So I sat with him. We got in the stand about, I'd say, 2 o'clock. Last light this time of year would have been about 8:30, 8:45. From about 3:15, we were watching bears all night. Sow and cubs would come in, and you'd see the cubs mess around and do all what they do and play and fight and this and that. And then, the mom would huff and leave, and then a boar would come in, and, you'd watch 2 boars. They'd kind of posture and, fight. And so we were watching, and I'm just like, oh, man. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. Because to me, this is the greatest show on earth. Forget Hollywood, forget sports, forget all that nonsense. This is the greatest show on earth to me. So I'm watching these bears, and I'm watching how they interact. And okay, so this bear comes in, he does that. Okay. And because to me, I'm always trying to be a student of the game. To better me as a hunter, and most of all, to better me as a guide. So I'm watching, like, okay, the sow does this. So he came in from that way. The wind is doing this. So that bear went for this part of the bait, and that bear went for that portion of the bait. And so I'm just, time is flying by. Next thing I know, it's dark. We got to head out. So we were packing up our stuff. We walk out. We get to the truck. The guy I'm hunting with kind of puts his bag down. He's like, man, did you forget something? He's like, I was hoping to pull the trigger today. Didn't get to pull the trigger. My heart sank. And he's a relatively new hunter, so I saw this as my opportunity. I says, look. I says, you missed it. He's like, missed what? I'm like, you missed out. You missed out on a spectacle that very few people will ever get to witness. If your objective going into this hunt is solely to pull the trigger, you're missing out more than you'll ever know. Some of the best hunts I've ever been on, I've never pulled the trigger. I says, what did you learn from this? What did you notice? And what can you now apply to future bait sites, to future hunts? And he kind of looked at me like what are you talking about? And I'm the same way when I'm hunting by myself. There's times where I've had bears at the bait and I'm not even considering reaching for my bow. For one, I don't want the hunt to be over. It may be early in the season, and two, I'm watching. Even if it's a bear, I would shoot. I'm watching because he's doing something that I'm like, oh, I wonder why he does that. I've seen him on camera. Why is he? So instead of killing this bear, I'm gonna learn from him first. I'm gonna steal what knowledge he can give me, and then if he comes back in a later date, okay, we'll solve it then. But right now, I want to. Okay, I've seen him do that before. Why is he doing it? And so I just explained to him, like, you're missing out so much on what a hunt is and what it could be. So we had a great conversation, and I just kind of, pulling the trigger is nice. But at the end of the day, what I have found, whether it's a bear on my wall, a moose, a deer, whatever, I can look at those mounts and I can look at those rugs and whatever. And I can think back on the memories, and almost every one of them, I can tell you what the weather was like, what it smelled like outside, all these things. And they bring back Great memories I will take to my grave. But if all I'm doing is pulling the trigger, I'm selling myself short. Because I've now missed out on many memories that may have been able to make because I was trigger happy. Because all I wanted to do was kill. And that's one thing we try to balance at our camp. We obviously want our hunters to go home with a bear. But we want you to go home with a bear. And then when you get home, be like, hey, you call your buddy like, man, remember when we were heading down trap line? And this and that happened and that and that. Do you remember that? Like, they talk about our hunters, I've noticed, talk about the experience far more than they talk about the kill. Because it's an all-encompassing process. The kill is just the cherry on top. So, yeah, I know I've kind of wandered into the weeds here a little bit. But that's been on my mind for a while, and so figured I'd just voice it out. The main reason I wanted to come on here today and share a little bit is I've been noticing on bear hunting forums. I know I said I'm not a social media guy, which I'm not, but every once in a while for Bear Track I'll go on and I'll do this and that. And all my social media stuff is either, I follow my wife or friends or hunting groups or, past clients of ours or current clients of ours as well. So I'm on this bear hunting forum and I see people from all walks of the bear hunting life on there, which is fantastic. But what's been happening more and more recently is new guys or gals come on and they, hey, first year to bear hunting, or this is my second year bear hunting. I have this bait out and I'm finally getting hit. Any tips? And then every person and their dog come on there and offer surefire way to get bears. This is how you're going to get bears. I was like, okay. I saw one today. And the reason I'm commenting is not because those people are, I think they're truly trying to help. I do. But who this is really directed at is the people asking for advice. So the post was this person, it's their second year baiting for bears or something like that. And they're finally getting activity, but it's not as much as they wanted. And, any tips? Fair question. And there was a couple responses like this, but one person in particular responded, fill your barrel with meat, you'll attract every bear in the area. Me and my buddy do this and that. And immediately I was hesitant. Because there's a few things wrong with that. Not that it's wrong with baiting for meat. I mean, as long as it's allowed in your local regs, fine. I don't bait with meat personally. I have my reasons. But if you do, and it works for you, and it's legal where you're at, great. But the problem with that is I always have an issue when someone makes such a hardline statement when it comes to baiting bears. Do this, and then this will happen. Well, if anyone's hunted anything in their life, never mind bears, you know that there are no guarantees to any of it. Will it work? Maybe. But he's forgetting that, because what he's doing is he's making it sound like, first of all, this worked for me, so it has to work for you. It's not the case. I'll tell you right now that that's not the case. For example, and I mentioned this before in other podcasts. There's an outfitter in eastern Manitoba who hunts with just straight corn kills bears. Bears in our area will not touch corn. Will not touch it. I promise you. We've tried. Just out of curiosity, we've added it to ours, or during COVID, we used just corn because we couldn't get a normal bait into Canada, all this and that. Those barrels sat full all year. They will not touch it. So now, that's like me going on there and saying, hey, I'm getting bears at my bait, any advice? And this guy goes, yep, try corn, you'll attract every bear in the area. Well, no, I won't. Because the bears in my area don't touch it. We never found corn in their scat, nothing. So they were not. So you can't just make statements like that. I'm glad it works for you, and I hope it continues to work for you, and I hope you're successful. But I think we need to be careful when we give such unsolicited advice that we don't speak with such certainties. Okay. I look at this guy's post, the guy asking for help, and I see it as not as simplistic as that. And maybe this just comes with doing it for so long, because all the responses were bait with this, bait with that, attract with this, attract with that, put this in your bait. I'm thinking, are we even sure he has a bait in a good location? Like, why is nobody asking that? Like, so he posts a picture of his bait barrel, and it looks pretty wide open, which those of you familiar with bear hunting is that's not a good thing. Bears are not fond of open areas. So people are so quick to give their advice, but nobody asked questions. Nobody said, well, where are you located? Like, he's getting advice from people all over North America. Well, bears are very individualistic. They're not like whitetail. You can put corn out in Saskatchewan, you can put corn out in Kansas. Both deer are going to eat it. Bears, it's not that easy. So I'm reading this post, I'm like, okay, is your bait in a good location? Do your bears have easy access to this bait, where they can kind of sink in, sink out in the shadows, where it's thick, where they have cover, where they can feel comfortable, where, are you being consistent in your baiting? Or are you baiting at the same time every day, or are you showing up at random times and now the bears aren't allowed to get comfortable because they never know when this guy's going to show up? Do they have to cross open spaces to get to your bait? Like, there's all these questions that need to be answered before you just start throwing your recipes at him thinking you're going to solve his problem. So here's my PSA. When you're asking or seeking advice for bear hunting, first of all, try to find the most experienced person you can. Someone who's done it a lot. Secondly, try to get a few different viewpoints. Because this person might say, hey, do this. And that person can go, yeah, you could, but watch out for this if you do that. Right? Like, I can't stress enough, there's not a surefire way to bait bears. Just because something works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for the next guy. Getting bears to your bait is one thing. Keeping them there is a whole other issue. Especially when you get to mature boars. Those are separate things. Right? Which is another thing that should have been addressed. Okay, you're attracting, but are you keeping them there? Like, how long you're getting bears there? Are they staying at your bait? Are they are they knocking your barrel over and feeding? Or are they scooping out of your barrel? However you have it set up. Like, but everybody, and I scrolled just because I'm curious to see. And everybody's like, use pastries, use dog food, use popcorn. I use popcorn, I kill bears. Use meat. It's like, guys, we're answering step 5. We haven't even addressed 1 to 4 yet. Right? Like we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're making assumptions without finding the root cause of his problem. Maybe he's in a bad location. Maybe the bears don't like where he's at. Maybe he's got no cover, right? All these things. So, when you're on these public forums, when you're asking the question, try to be as detailed as you can. Saying, guys, look, this is where I'm located. This is what state, county, province, whatever. My bait is here. If you have a picture, a trail cam pic, or you take a picture of your bait, fine, that's even better. If you don't want to because you're scared some people might recognize it, fair enough. But then explain, I'm in the timber. Are you close to water? Bear baits, within 100, 200 yards, 150 is kind of the sweet spot of having your bait near water, right? That's important. So when you're asking for advice, because then it'll help. What that does is it'll help the people answering you. And I'm not the only one out there who can give advice. There's lots of bear hunters, not just guides or outfitters, but weekend warriors who are very qualified to give answers. All right, there's lots of us out there, and for the most part, it's a great community. So when you're reaching out for advice, be specific. This is what I'm baiting with. I try to bait same time every day. My bait is in good cover. I'm near water. They're not crossing any open space, but I just cannot get bears. Okay. So now we have a more reasonable approach to your problem, because we've canceled out what it could possibly be. Okay, it can't be those things. So then it must be this, right? So. And be cautious to it's something I mentioned before, but again, I cannot stress it enough, because it works for, what often happens in these posts is guys will, hey, I shot this 400 pounder, and then they send a picture, I use popcorn. Oh, I gotta use popcorn. No. Slow down. Again, it worked for him. It may work for you. But if you're using, meat scraps, and that's not working, so you go on the forum, hey, my meat scraps aren't working. Man, excuse me. Guy pops up, use pastries. Oh, and then I'm going to go to pastries. A week later, hey, my pastries aren't working. What next? Popcorn. Oh, popcorn. So you're constantly switching? Well, I can tell you right now, there's your problem. There's your problem. Right? So just kind of be weary of these things when you're asking advice. Be specific in your question. Right? Try to give as much detail as you can. And weed through, right? And I'll be so bold and to be cautious of people who answer you with certainty. And what I mean by that is not that, I or anyone else isn't certain in our answers. It's when someone tells you, do this and you will have. Do this and you will get. Do this and whatever. To me, my personal opinion, that's someone who's very limited in their bear baiting. Whether it's, relative to a specific area or they haven't been doing it that long. Because anyone who's baited bears for years and years and years will know you can't speak with such certainties. Almost anything, dog food works, corn works, popcorn does work. Almost anything will work. It's just, will it work for you? Will it work for where you're at? So that's my little spiel. I hope it makes sense. I hope that it sheds a little light onto what I see is kind of a not a problem, but just something to be careful of. When we're especially online looking at getting advice. It's a great place, and a lot of people give excellent advice. It's just like most things, you kind of gotta, weed through the muck before you get to the good stuff. So, if you have any questions, comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer it. But yeah, I figured I'd come on and share and kind of clarify a few things. So I wish everyone a successful bear season. I hope you're safe in the woods. I hope you enjoy what you're doing. I hope you take the time to appreciate what we're allowed to do. And I wish everyone nothing but success.